you. Good afternoon, everyone. So for those of you I haven't met before or have seen around in the past, my name is Shawna Warehime. I'm fisheries biology working with Yakama Nation Reservation, and I specifically stay with restoration projects on the reservation. And I'm really grateful to propose this project to you today. This is an ongoing effort and it's called Pom Pom River Mile 40 Restoration Phase 2. So again, this is an ongoing effort and we'll be building on the previous phases, which I will touch on today. But this is really to focus preserving, enhancing, and protecting Middle Columbia steelhead populations, and more specifically, the Toppenish Creek population for this area. Is this the button? Which button am I supposed to click?
Oh, we may just need to click the cursor once and then
Okay.
give you,
Thanks.
should have control from here on out.
Thank you. So, Pom Pom River Mile 40 is on Toppenish Creek. It is one of 3 watersheds that we manage and work on within the Yakama Nation Reservation. Toppenish Creek is approximately 70 miles long and has a unique set of challenges ranging all the way from the upland meadows and the Lincoln and Lost Horse Plateaus, all the way to the alluvial fan, which is where our project is located here in red, and then its confluence with the Yakama River. So the Pom Pom project itself, as you may have gathered from the title, is located between river miles 40.5 and 39.5 on the main stem of Toppenish Creek, both banks. So this is an overview of that same project area to get you acquainted with the site, especially before we're going out there. This is Pom Pom Road that is running north to south and directly bisects the current alignment of Toppenish Creek, as well as historical floodplain and historical flow routes, which I'll get into more later. Toppenish Creek is here to the south, and as it exists today, has actually been pushed south onto a terrace. And there are some documented land office maps that show that historically, the main stem and other graded routes were always to the north. And what you can't see very well on this image, but in LiDAR and elevation profiles that we have, is that everything to the north is much lower in elevation than its current alignment. So early 1900s, for some reason, this section got moved to the south on a terrace. Part of that is that it then approaches Pom Pom Road and is going through an 80-foot bridge that exists there today. But the combination of that manipulation and then the degradation of the reach, it is a very, very poor section of Toppenish Creek. So right here is approximately river 40.5. We approach Pom Pom Road, move downstream, and then we reach yet another undersized bridge that continues to confine Toppenish Creek in this area. On Pom Pom Road itself, if you go south, I just want to mention the center culvert because it'll come up later. It is currently a fish passage barrier because it is an 8-foot corrugated metal pipe that has scoured out in the center. It's threatening the road, and there's such a huge scour hole and a drop downstream that no life stage of steelhead or other native fishes could utilize it to get upstream if there were still water to the north. Are there any questions right now on the overview of the site? Okay. So Pom Pom has been planned and has been on our radar for a significant amount of time. It is very important to the Yakama Nation peoples for Middle Columbia steelhead, as well as lamprey and other native fishes, but also for cultural resources and uses. One of those documents is the Toppenish Creek Reach Assessment that was concluded in 2014 by Interfluke, where they assessed 10 river miles, where Pom Pom is kind of smack dab in the middle of it. So they looked at river miles 36 downstream all the way to 45 to look at the current existing conditions and compare it to reference reaches or target reaches or targeted outcomes we would like to see, and came up with a list of limiting factors that are really important to address for steelhead as well as the environment. And these additional documents down here are also supporting that and assess and show the same limiting factors. And any of these I can provide if anyone really would like to read through those documents. There's the Toppenish Basin Geomorphology report done in 2007. the basis of restoration design and restoration alternatives memo that was done by Natural Systems Design. So we've had a slew of different firms also coming to the same conclusions. So the first three limiting factors in this reach specifically is poor aquatic habitat, there's active incision, and a greatly disconnected floodplain. And you can see that in these pictures right here. These photos were taken at river mile 40.5, looking directly downstream, and you can see we have 15 feet of incision in this section of stream, and worse, moving down from this photo. And the sad thing is with these pictures, especially this one here, this is actually the better looking section of this stretch, and you'll be able to see that on the site tour in May. So this one, you could say, well, we could do some kind of inset floodplain reconnection. We could do some kind of vegetation. We're seeing some sorting of cobbles and gravels, but there's no riparian corridor. There's no other complexity in stream. And as you get moved down from here, it just gets worse. So I've already alluded to no riparian corridor. This is moving further downstream towards Pom Pom Road. The picture on your left is now what we fondly, with quotation marks, fondly call our Toppenish Canyon. It remains 15 feet in size. There's no inset floodplain. It's even worse, and it is also annually drying up. And there's no way it's going to get up here to connect with that floodplain. And then this image is even closer on the right to the road where there's a little bit of riparian cover, but it is actively falling in. The last limiting factor is fish passage. One, I would consider the fact that this is highly degraded and there's no water or fish passage issue. There's no potential for juveniles to rear and grow healthy, big and strong. So surprise, fish need water. But the other fish passage issue, which is going to be addressed in phase one before this work is completed, is that culvert on the center channel. That is going to have to be addressed. Lastly, this does tie in really well with the Steelhead Recovery Plan from 2009. Specifically, if you want reference pages, 132 is the really big one where it's focusing on recovery strategies just for the Toppenish Creek population. So there are three big ones: the continuing efforts of protecting and preserving existing habitat, reconnecting that floodplain, and then just improving the Toppenish Creek fish population, which in this current alignment, we cannot do those key strategies and get to that point to have those benefits. We have to look at some alternative methods to actually reach those goals. The Toppenish Creek Corridor Enhancement Plan in 2019, I think also had begun in like 1994, but has really taken into account the issues with Toppenish Creek and specifically with wanting to fix and address the best of our ability the entrenched reaches, which I would say this is an entrenched reach. Lastly, the update for the Yakama Steelhead Recovery Plan by Wakish was provided to Yakama Nation in 2022. It reevaluated some of those key strategies in the task for Toppenish Creek and expanded upon it and specifically called out this river mile 40 as something that needs to be addressed. So for current fish use, you can imagine with what you saw in the photos, it is pretty depressing and super abysmal. Here we have a photo showing surveyed reds from 2001 to 2021. So every year we have a crew that goes out and does 2 to 3 passes of every stream reach. And Pom Pom project is located smack dab right here. So this is river mile 40.5, and then this is the bridge in Pom Pom Road about 0.6 miles downstream of that. So 0.6 miles of that canyon has not had any surveyed reds or used by adult middle Columbia steelhead. And then we will have an updated map with the red surveys in the last couple of years, but it's still the same results. There is no usage here. So just upstream and downstream, you can see there's heavier use where the habitat does start to get a little bit better. And then further upstream and downstream where we have done other restoration projects similar to this, we have seen increased juvenile densities, rearing, and usage. And so we anticipate that to occur once we address this reach. So overarching goals and objectives, we want to increase the high quality spawning and rearing habitat over 2.4 river miles for the steelhead. We want to restore natural stream and floodplain functions through increasing flood conveyance. And then this last one pertains to phase one, very much so, as well as phase two, is to reduce or not increase flood hazard for properties and the road. So as all of you are very familiar with, we have to work with the constraints of the modern use of our landscape while trying to get the most benefit for our fish populations. So this is back to an overview of our project. I'm going to briefly discuss phase one. Thank you. Phase one is all along Pom Pom Road right here to reorient you, and it's in this blue box. So I'm gonna start to the north. This image here is going to be a 150-foot bridge that will be constructed. Moving south, this is the current fish passage barrier culvert that will be removed and plugged. And through designs and assessments by Interfluke Restoration and KPFF for the infrastructure portion, say that there is a spring line in this area that will continue to feed these historical flow paths as well as off-channel habitat. Continuing to move south, we have 3 more of these yellow squares. Those are gonna be 3 21-foot culverts with an open low gradient stream bed to help for floodplain conveyance. So all of this is gonna be done in phase one, and this is gonna set us up really nicely for the restoration efforts that we want to do the following year for steelhead. So here we have our top and main stem. What is going to happen is right below an existing channel scar of a historical flow route, there's gonna be a plug of stream bed material and large woody debris. The primary flow of Toppenish Creek and main stem is gonna be moved back to the north, and it's a historical flow path that exists today, and also has immediate access and flows through all of this really healthy riparian corridor. I can tell you it's super healthy because I had to do a survey and I basically surfed and never touched the ground. And then it's going to overlap with the existing spring line and overlap with an existing off-channel habitat that we want to preserve and protect. So overall, that is going to be the 2.4 miles of habitat we're immediately going to gain access to and improve for steelhead. These are just 2 images real quick to show you what the channel scars look like right now. This is the upper portion near where it's going to split off from the current main stem of Toppenish Creek. It is going to need some additional planting management long-term, since it's all sagebrush. And this is closer to Pom Pom Road where you have more of a healthy riparian corridor. So the benefits are, if we're gonna go from approximately 1.6 river miles of degraded channel, with basically 0 habitat for fish, 0 habitat for anything else or any kind of ecological uplift for the existing wildlife. And we're gonna get 1.7 miles of meandering stream. It's gonna have a healthy riparian corridor. We will have to do some restoration efforts in there as well, like large woody debris structures, just for bank stability and more complex habitat for juvenile steelhead. It's gonna have the 0.3 miles of springbrook that can also be off-channel habitat, and the 0.4 miles of existing off-channel habitat, which is being shown in these pictures here. And it's honestly the best and most gorgeous part in this reach, and desperately want to protect and keep it. And we have seen active beaver activity in there, as well as a lot of bears. So we feel for the cost and for the size of this project, we're gonna get a lot of uplift, and some numbers that were calculated from 30% designs, all the data that's being collected, surveys, etc., is we're looking at about a 10% return of adult steelhead to this reach once restored. Anticipated up to 8 reds annually. Of course, those numbers are subject to change until we actually have this in reality. But that is a significant improvement from 0. And this will also aid in climate resiliency, which is really important because right now, as it stands, there is no resiliency with its current alignment. So in terms of concerns, no concerns for final designs. We have a complete packet. It is ready to go and bid as soon as we know we have the funding for it. Permits, section 106 is completed. We have our go ahead and we're good to go, and we continue to work very closely with our CRP folks and TIBO folks on the ground, as this is a very important site for all of them. We are at the tail end of our environmental compliance with BPA, and then we are halfway through our permitting pathway with Army Corps and EPA for 401 and 404. And we anticipate to have those permits in hand, late summer. So in terms of what you may label concerns are really just frequent questions I get for this project is the funding. I apologize, I don't have a table, because our ask for support on phase 2 is going to be the majority of what the costs for restoration actions are gonna be, which is about $2.3 million. Because the majority of the match for this project is going towards phase 1, just because infrastructure, as you know, is very expensive. But we have to do that because we need to keep the roads in, we need to keep the utilities, we need to respect and help community members that are already water limited, while also enhancing the habitat for steelhead. So last but not least, what we plan to do is have phase 2 constructed in the in-water work window of 2025. So for on the reservation is July 1st to October 31st. There is a potential that I'll get bumped to 2026 simply because phase 1 has to happen first. And if that doesn't begin end of this year, we'll have to postpone it to 2025. So 2026 would be the latest anticipated year for us to do the restoration actions on the ground above Pom Pom Road. So with that, that was an overview. I'd be happy to take questions, concerns. I'm really excited to have you guys out on the site to really see it. I mean, the pictures do really show it, but there's more of a magnitude when you're on site as to why we're doing this project in this way. And I'm happy to provide this presentation because within the notes section, there's more of an expanse of information available to you that expands on what I shared today.
Shawna, do people live south of the site on Pom Pom Road?
Yes, they do. Yeah, there's a couple of homes south, and then there are a few homes that are immediately north. We have done a lot of modeling with Interfluve to see if there's any flood issues with this restoration effort to those homes. And there doesn't appear to be, especially with the approach of the new bridge and the new culverts, is that there's gonna be enough flow through that new infrastructure, and the homes are both on terraces that they should be protected. Not to mention, one thing I didn't address on the overview slide is when we put the plug into the main stem, it's gonna be low enough that at higher flood events, like 100-year or more, it is still gonna utilize the current alignment to get flow under that existing bridge to protect the road, to protect the homes.
Any others?
So quiet. Usually I'm grilled on this project.
Sean's
I got it, some overall questions. How's the progress on the basin-wide study doing? Of the Toppenish Creek? Is that going on now? And the second one, what are we doing on Snake Creek? Are they getting better return flows? I mean, survival of on the outgoing?
I would say survival right now is not improving for outmigration near Snake Creek. That is actually something that's currently on the docket and being designed right now, hopefully with the implementation of next year, but that's all I could share as I'm not lead on that project.
And by the basin study, you meant the passage and screening inventory that was surfboard funded 2-3 years ago? Is that
Yes.
right, Doug?
Yeah.
Yes, so that is still ongoing this year. Kelsey, who's the lead for that, is planning on completing all of it for Toppenish Creek. And they have expanded her scope of work to include a Tanum and Status. So she's been pretty busy girl for getting out there and doing that, but it's moving along.
And I will note, you'll remember 2 years ago, we had a proposal for Wattom Creek out there. That work is done. There's a nice new bridge there. They actually had money left over. And they worked with Elizabeth and us. They will be using that funding to design
Two more.
2 more in the end. I was gonna say 1 to 3, 2 more crossing sites that were crossings that were identified in the study that was funded with the surfboard assessment dollars. So two of the barriers they found on Simcoe Creek, right near where Wattom Creek comes in, they'll be getting the designs done that were identified with that first surfboard project. The Wattom Creek savings will go to the design. And yeah, there's a good chance you may see some of that come back for construction dollars, or maybe Shannon has lots of their own dollars to spend.
Well, as you probably know, we spend a lot of money getting more fish, more eggs in the bed and more smolts. But we need to make sure that we get that they live long enough to get back down to the river.
Absolutely.
And the Snake Creek work, tell me if I'm wrong, but that is in the big NOAA Toppenish Passage grant you guys got 6 months ago or so.
Mhm.
So there's a chunk of funding there as they finalize the designs to get that actually on the ground.
And then at the Sunnyside Diversion Dam was another big issue there, seemed to be.
Yep.
They
Yep.
got the logs in, is that successful? What's the lowdown on that?
That I would have to check with, unless you know, Shannon.
That's Michael Porter, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. that's Porter.
The boom is in, and I believe the weir work was constructed, there were two parts of it was constructed last year. And the preliminary monitoring definitely shows benefit, and they're working right now on modifying it slightly to make it easier to clean. So as they've had it in place, they've learned what it takes to keep it clean. But no, that's definitely in place and helping. And it'll take a few more years before we have really reliable estimates, but it seems to be that it's doing what it was intended to do. And it'll just be a question of how, Craig, jump in, you look like I'm.
No, you're on.
Okay. I thought you could give us an actual percent from the first year's data. Other questions for Shawna on the Pom Pom Road? As you guys can just by the price tag, this is competing for the targeted
Yes.
investment pot.
yes.
So not in the regular surfboard, so this will be one of the ones that unless we decide we don't even want to send it forward, we will send forward to the state. With our ranking as one of the things they'll use, and it'll get rescored at that state level. And compete against projects from the Nooksack to the Walla Walla.
Elizabeth wrote that the Toppenish assessment was still underway, and we're hoping the data will be crunched and the report will be available at the end of 2024.
Yeah, for the fish passage.
Yeah.
And I also see a correction from her. One of the new culvert designs will be Simcoe and the other will be on agency, which is a Simcoe trib that also comes in that same area.
Awesome, well, I'm happy to answer any questions and speak with them between now and the site visit, and I look forward to having you out there.
I don't have any questions because I was there for the 96 and 97
Yeah.
floods and my PTSD is kicking into the point where I might have to excuse myself.
Tom, why did you stop them from putting that bridge back?
I probably made things worse. I put that monstrosity in up above Signal Peak Road at the request of the land committee chairman after it got flooded twice in 10 months, 96 and 97. It was the biggest Band-Aid. 200,000 yard Band-Aid.
We'll get my.
Almost, when does it dry up generally?
I've been seeing it start to dry up, during July. This picture was the picture that was showing it dry was in August.
Thank you.
Thank you.